God got me lit. Today we're going to talk about King Ahasuerus, or better known as King Xerxes, and Esther and Haman. So basically, King Ahasuerus, or King Xerxes, better known by, was holding parties, banquets for about 6 months, and he wanted to show off his wealth, and he was doing that. He was just, yeah, this me, man. This is what I do. You see what I'm saying? Look at my kingdom. Look at everything beautiful in the kingdom. Look at the food we have. Look at our horses. Like, he was just, flaunting his wealth. So it got to a point where he was in a hall or a banquet with some other men. I don't know the correct term they used to describe this place, but they were there, and he was a little drunk, in high spirits, along with presumably other men of high rank and power. And so basically, they went ahead and they started talking amongst each other, and they were like just analyzing all of the beautiful things in his kingdom. And he got the great idea in his mind to say, here was another thing I could show off. Let me show off the beautiful queen that I'm with. So he called his queen, or his wife, Vashti, and he told her to appear in her crown so she could show off her beauty. And again, this is not what was said, but I'm just kind of filling in the blanks because he asked her to come. He had his advisors or servants, whatever they may be, go to get Queen Vashti to appear before him in her crown. And she said no. When they returned there, it's like she said no, she's not coming. And he was mad. But reading between the lines, maybe she didn't want to come because maybe he was drunk. Maybe she didn't want to be showing off. I mean, I don't know, but there's a lot of different speculations, as to why she didn't want to come. But regardless, he was the king, so it is what it is. So she refused to come, and that probably was embarrassing. And on top of that, my guy was drunk. He was, all right, I'm finna show you my queen, my wife, and show you how beautiful she is, Yeah, none of y'all got a wife as bad as my wife. None of y'all wife look as pretty as my wife. You see what I'm saying? So he probably was like wanting to show her off. Like, I got the fairest woman in the kingdom, my boys. Like, what y'all talking about? Like, he probably wanted them to kind of like, be jealous or lust over her, or, just see like, wow, you got something special type of vibe. But when she didn't come, you could imagine how he probably felt. Like, why she ain't come? And then the other men were probably like, he can't even get his queen to come. You see what I'm saying? He probably was embarrassed because, she disobeyed him. And he was going to make his own decree and his own judgment. But this shows some wisdom, although, just like all the other kings of the world, including myself and everybody, all the other kings who watch this channel, we still men. So it's good for us to have to go to God or go to even other men sometimes to advise us on certain things. And so King Xerxes was like to his advisors, like, hey, what should I do? I want to make my own decree. I'm mad, I'm angry, but what should I do since she refused to come? What should I do with Queen Vashti? And they basically advised him like, hey, man, if word gets out that she took this stand against the king, other women in their homes are going to think they cannot listen to their husbands when they want to. It's going to become a defiant thing, a rebellious thing. It's going to spark some type of movement, some type of feminine leadership that's going to negatively impact the household or the structure that we have here in Persia, right? So they're like, we can't have that, so we need to banish her. And so after they, made it clear and brought their thoughts out about how this would cause an impact that would not only humiliate him, it would just cause an uproar in all the households because it would be a different energy than what was accustomed. So he listened and he banished Vashti from the kingdom, or killed her. I'm not exactly sure, but it sounds like he just banished her. And so he went ahead, let her leave, and he got lonely because he just banished his beautiful wife that he wanted to show off. He wasn't drunk no more, so now the drunkenness came off, and he like, dang, man, I miss my little baby, man, tripping. But, in Persia, I believe that was the kingdom there, once they made a decree, it couldn't be rescinded. So he couldn't go back on his word because, that was part of their customs. You see what I'm saying? So he had to stand on that. So they saw he was lonely, his advisors, and they came up with a plan to get all the most beautiful women out the kingdom together, all the virgins and things like that, and bring them before him after getting them prepared, of course, looking beautiful, smelling good, going through different type of beauty treatments, making sure they scan and they smell good, whoop. So basically, he went ahead and started scouting these females. And one of these females was Esther. And she was a Jew, and she was being taken care of by Mordecai, who had been watching over her as a father figure and basically as her father. And so basically, out of all the women, Esther was chosen. When she came before the advisors, they favored her too. When she came before anybody, they favored her. They was like, man, this woman's beautiful. And she carried herself with grace, and things like that. So, that's always a plus when you find a beautiful woman who's not only beautiful on the outside, but also inside as well. So I could just imagine that. So with that being said, Esther came and he eventually wedded her. He made her the queen. You see what I'm saying? And basically, he lived with her and he was happy. He was satisfied with his decision. Excuse me, I know I'm itching my beard. I got some oil that I put in there, but I think I'm having a reaction to it. I don't like the way it make my beard feel. But anyway, let me hop back on subject. So Esther was now the queen to King Xerxes. And Haman was a vizier, or, some type of like apprentice or advisor to the king. And he was honored by the king. And so when he was honored by the king, King Xerxes was like, hey, everybody honor Haman, because, I'm honoring him, so I want everybody to know that he's that guy. You see what I'm saying? So he has power like I got power, so y'all honor him too. He's under me and I appoint him. You see what I'm saying? And so when he did that, everybody bowed except Mordecai. And that infuriated Haman because he wanted him to bow because he felt powerful. He was like, you gonna bow before me, nigga? I'm the power. You see what I'm saying? And he didn't bow. Now, I don't think, Mordecai was trying to be completely disrespectful, but, it was customary that they bowed before the Lord, God, right? And so he wasn't trying to bow before him as if he was his God, like serve him as like his Lord, because it seems like, it was a different type of custom in Persia with King Xerxes and Haman. You see what I'm saying? The way they wanted to be bowed to. That's what I'm getting from that. So it was a little more than just, it was almost like a worship. And he's like, nah. You're not my God. Not at all. You see what I'm saying? So this made Haman very upset. And he found out basically like this guy's a Jew. And that's the customs of these people who call themselves Jews. And there was Jews all within the kingdom. And because he was upset that he didn't bow before him, although all the other people did except this one guy, that made him want to eradicate all the Jews just off of his own anger and pride because he didn't bow before him. He just, he just wanted to strike him for being insolent, but he didn't want to do it to just him. He was like, you know what, I'm going to take all your people out. So all the other people didn't do nothing to him. He just wanted to let his pride feel his anger. So he went to the king, King Xerxes, and he basically insinuated, manipulated the king. Remember, manipulation is a form of witchcraft. You know what I'm saying? So when you're making people think another type of way, that's a form of it. You see what I'm saying? Because you're manipulating them and not telling them the whole truth and using them your own way to control them, which is a form of magic. There's other forms, obviously, but that's one form. So he told King Xerxes, Haman, was like, hey, there's people who live amongst us, and they're a threat to us because they don't follow the same customs as you, my lord. They're a threat to us. And he said that in such a way that it had the king like, oh, okay. And, he trusts him because, he's like a vizier. So he's somebody who has the king's best interest. So he's like, okay, well, say less. Here's my ring, so you can decree and stamp whatever you decree on my behalf, and everybody's going to follow it. So just to point that out, does that sound familiar? Remember the Holocaust, Hitler? You see what I'm saying? Blaming people and turning people against people to say, this is the problem. But what Haman did was, before a problem was even established, he said, let's prevent this problem. See what I'm saying? So the king was like, oh, okay, cool. In his ignorance and just thinking that, he had the best solution for whatever he was advising the king on to preserve his kingdom. So basically he gave him the ring, and Haman sent out the decree. Said, we gonna kill all the Jews on this day, we against them. And, there's people in the kingdom that was like, what, why are we doing this? But it didn't matter. He wrote it, and then he stamped it. Remember, the king gave him the stamp, so whatever he wrote, that was just it. So he could write whatever he wanted, and it would be accepted as if the king said it. The king didn't even bother reading it because, he trusts him. He like, here, just stamp it. You see what I'm saying? Write what you want to write, stamp it, and it's going to be followed. So they sent that decree, that scroll, out to all the kingdoms all over the 127 provinces in the Persian kingdom, because the Jews are also living within the Persian kingdom. So King Xerxes was a powerful ruler, and he ruled a lot of lands. You see what I'm saying? Like a lot of land. And there's people of different cultures living amongst the Persians, and you get the point. So after that, Mordecai and all the Jews were mourning, like, man, they trying to kill us. They're like, dang, man, just imagine if somebody said they're going to wipe out your family lineage. So there was not happiness amongst those people, which were the Jews. So Mordecai was sad, and he went to the gate, and he got in contact with one of the servants to Esther, and he had her deliver a message to Esther, because Esther saw that, he was sad, and she heard the news that he was sad. She didn't know why, because, she was right next to the king, which shows that the king didn't tell her, because he probably didn't know. King Xerxes probably didn't know. So he went ahead, and so I apologize. So the servant went ahead and inquired with Mordecai, like, why are you sad? Why are you at the gate, in sackcloth, and also Esther sent him clothes. So she's like, why he in sackcloth? Go dress him up. And he was like, no, tell her this. And so the servant went back and told Esther what Haman had said. I apologize, what Mordecai had said, which was that there had been a decree sent out to eradicate the Jews. And so Esther responded back in such a way that was like, well, I can't go to the king where he's at right now. If I was to go where he's at, I would be put to death. Like, you can't just appear to the king without a summons. He has to put his scepter out to welcome you in. So basically she was scared. She's like, I can't go to his private spot where he at right now. I'm a woman. I'm under him. I can't do that. And so she was just making, an excuse out of fear, even though she just heard her people were going to be annihilated by the decree that was set out by the king, but obviously set out by Haman, who got the signet or the ring to be able to stamp it as the king's decree. So basically, Mordecai went ahead and sent the servant back to Esther, and she delivered the message, which was basically Mordecai saying, hey, don't think you safe just because you're in a palace with the king. Yeah, we might be wiped out and we're gonna die or whatever, but guess what? Our people are not gonna let us die in vain. So when they find out, we gonna come overthrow, and everybody in the castle gonna die, and you're gonna be a part of that. Like, don't just think because you there that you're not our people anymore. You're still with us. Like, we still blood, what I'm saying? We still gotta stand. You gotta stand 10 toes down for our people. Don't think you're relieved of that just because you married to the queen. You're still a Jew. He's still a Persian. What you think gonna happen when he find out that you're a Jew? So he basically like, man, you still a Jew. Uphold that and fight for our people. In essence, that's basically what he was saying. Or when relief comes for us, when we step, we gonna step on you too for betraying us. Stepping, killing, murder, overthrowing. These are things that happen back then and even today still in normal life for different causes, just like we have war